Let's say we're going to make a race.
Racing
Me versus you.
No.
We're going to race, right?
Yeah, I'm beating you.
Okay, perfect. To determine the best driver. Let's say I gave you a Fiat.
Yeah.
And I took a Ferrari. And then I win the race. And then I say, look how much of a better driver I am than you. What would you say to that?
Honestly, I'd be like, you had a better car than me.
So can't you also argue that about coaching?
Definitely.
Is Gasperini the best manager in the world?
Whoa. Antonio, is that you? In the world? Bro, right now? No,
is he the best?
Good.
Where are you going? Stay here. No, stay here. We're talking about this right now. There's no moving. Is Gasperini the best coach?
The best coach in the world right now?
Who's the best coach in the world?
If I had to pick, right now in form, probably KLOPP. Probably KLOPP, yeah.
But knocked out of Champions League.
Say,
knocked out of Champions League.
Yeah. Yeah, still.
Knocked out of Champions League. The best competition, the most important competition, lost to Atletico.
I was either going to say him or Guardiola.
But Guardiola didn't win the Premier League. He's how many points? 20-something points, 30 points out the Premier League.
Still KLOPP.
Still with all the money that they spent, you would say Guardiola?
KLOPP.
Okay, out of Champions League. How do you defend that?
KLOPP.
How do you defend that? Getting knocked out of the Champions League. What's your defense?
It was a bad game.
What's your defense?
It was a bad game. That's it.
How do you define a manager? How do you define a manager?
How often they win and how they're doing. Well, currently, if we're talking about managers, it would be how often they win. And right now, I feel like KLOPP has shown the most. He has a great squad and playing amazing football.
I got you.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question.
Okay.
How do you define? Let's say we're gonna make a race, right? We're gonna race in a car. Me versus you. We're gonna race, right?
Yeah, I'm beating you.
Okay, perfect. And we say to determine the best driver, right? If we determine the best driver, right?
Yeah.
Now let's say I gave you a Fiat.
Yeah.
And I took a Ferrari.
Yeah.
And I said, let's race. And then I win the race. And then I say, look how much of a better driver I am than you.
Okay, I get that.
What would you say? Hold on. Just go along with it. What would you say to that?
Well, there's factors in that sense.
What would you say? What would you say if I beat you? Let's say I didn't even beat you by that much.
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
Honestly, I'd be like, well, yo, you had better car than me, or better players. How we're
you have faster. Let's say my horsepower. I don't know anything about cars, so I don't want to offend anybody. Let's say my horsepower is 400 and yours is 100 or 50. Would you say that would be? Would you be like, yo, you have more horsepower than me? It's not fair because you have a faster car.
Of course.
So can't you also argue that about coaching?
Definitely a factor too.
Like, how do you determine the good manager? Because also it depends the car you got. If you put me in a real good car. If you put us in the same car, if we both had Ferraris, guess what? Maybe you're gonna blow me out of the water. But now, listen, if I give you a Fiat, hey, guess what? I might have just fucking nailed you.
You're right.
It's just I'm not saying yes or no.
Yeah.
But it just came to my mind.
It plays an effect for sure.
I just changed it. I was like, you know what? Determining the best manager.
But you gotta see the
car that you got. The car that you fucking got.
Gasperini has a project too. He's building a project. So
I think that there's
phenomenal for what he has right now.
I think there's an argument that Gasperini could be the best coach in the world.
You could say that.
If you're basing a manager, everyone wants to say the manager based off wins, which I understand. I understand trophies. I understand. But at the end of the day, if you give somebody with so many resources and every possible player, yes, it is the manager and it plays a role. But then once you start to say, oh, you're better, this guy's better than that guy. Oh, Real Sociedad's manager is not as good as Real Madrid's manager.
Yeah, you could say better players. You can say that's huge.
To really answer the question, you need a more of a living playing field. And now, I would say the difference in the amount that they get to spend is a big factor. So let's say we're comparing Manchester City to Bayern Munich, right? Maybe it's not a good example. No, Manchester City and Bayern Munich. Let's say Bayern Munich spends 100 million, Man City spends 150 million. The difference between 100 and 150 is not that much. So I would say that doesn't matter. It's better. You have to have some sort of. It can't be Manchester City spends 500 million. KLOPP spends 200, 300 million. Gasperini spends 20 million, and then we're like, KLOPP is definitely better.
I think it
has to at least be a question in your head saying.
The best way to determine this would be, if Gasperini has Man City for a year, then fucking KLOPP has Man City for a year.
But okay, now I have different argument.
Out of sense. Well,
KLOPP, what did KLOPP do? Or what did Guardiola do? Guardiola never actually coached a small team. Because I was going to say if you could get the equivalent of Atalanta, but it's kind of hard. And even Dortmund could be one. Dortmund could be one, but I think Dortmund was bigger. Was way bigger. I don't know where Dortmund started, but I don't know. I think it's a question.
There's too many factors.
I think it's genuinely a question.
Because then you can say, like, oh, but that was the beginning of his coaching career, and now Gasperini's more experienced. He coached for 10 more years. There's always going to be factors. But if you want to bring it closer to a playing field to see, I think what you said, you got to get two budgets that are closer. You got to get the same amount of years. Like, it wouldn't be the first year, so it's very. That's why I'm saying it's very difficult to determine that. But yeah, Gasperini, based on what he had, incredible. But now, if you would really want to be tested, it's either Atalanta would have to be competing for Scudetto, or Gasperini moves up to a team like Juventus or Manchester City to really determine that.
It sounds like a crazy question. When I read it, I was like, all right, how's he even going to ask if he's best in the world? Then I took it back and I said, you know what? Now you can go get your computer. Thank you. I knew that was going to turn into a very good argument.
No, but I mean, there's factors for everything. But the best thing is to do is try to bring as close as you can to the level of playing field.
Tell me now, the car thing was pretty good, right? That was a pretty good scenario.
Yeah, that was good.
Good, right? I just thought about it on the spot.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh, man. What are they saying? What are the comments saying?
Somebody said Gasperini messed up at Inter. But he was not there for Man,
Yeah, see, now
we
there's
get to deep.
yeah, exactly.
He was there for a couple
There's
days.
too many factors.
He was there for days.
Because you're gonna be talking about days about this. You can't really tell. It's only assumptions at the end of the day.
Why is it?
Because if you're gonna be like, oh, if he goes to Inter now, he'll win the Scudetto. You don't know that. You don't know. Maybe he doesn't play good with the pressure.
Good comment right here. Bob Marley, my man, Bobby Marley. Sorry, exactly. People thought Sarri was one of the best in Naples. Same thing with Gasperini, saying basically if they're at a smaller team, they then when they go to a bigger team, can they really replicate it? Yo, Poke Boom. Yeah, why are you spamming every second, bro? This guy keeps asking, why is Marco swearing every second? Why are you spamming every second?
So look, think about it like this. Gasperini, if he loses a match, it's not the end of the world. If he goes to Juve, he loses a match, there's going to be some heat on him. And maybe he can't handle the pressure as well. And maybe he'll start to crumble. Not saying that it will happen, but I'm just saying it's more pressure there. The media's more on your ass when you're on a bigger team. But I can't say anything bad about Gasperini. Right now, Gasperini's been proving every single person wrong for the most part. And he's been doing amazing with this Atalanta squad. So, like I said, the only time you can really not compare him to Guardiola is if Atalanta really starts competing for the Scudetto and actually starts playing every season in the Champions League, so you can determine how he's as a coach overall, as a top